Can I?
How you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm just trying to get my damn camera to work. I'm just checking settings in permissions to see whether I haven't turned it on or something. Just give me a moment.
Sure, take your time.
Thanks.
There's a little camera that's got a line through it.
Yeah, but when I press it, it just says cannot start video, failed to start the video camera.
Oh wow. Okay.
That's the issue I've got. So I'll just have a quick look in settings to see if there's anything I can.
Sure, take your time, man.
Yeah. Just bear with me for a sec.
No problem.
Now, what would it be under devices, apps? Let's try apps. Start. Apps and features. I'm using an old Windows 10 desktop, so I'm just trying to find where permissions are in the settings.
Well, it's amazing. For me, it's right there at the bottom of the screen, but I don't know how it is on Windows 10. So, but right there on the Zoom app itself.
Yeah, no, I've pressed that, but I get this message saying it can't work. So I'm just checking if there's.
Let's see. Maybe it's something I'm doing wrong. Let me see if I can. Here. Okay. Let me see. Allow recording. Yeah, it's not letting me do it either with you.
Printers and scanners, well as typing. I'm sure somewhere in there I've come across the thing about permissions for different things. But damn if I can remember where it was. Network and internet. Let's have a look. No. Oh, advanced settings. Because I did one a couple of months ago with Andrew and it worked fine. But then since then, I've not been able to get it to work again.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I wish I could help you with that because, but I am completely lost when it comes to this technology. Let me see here if I can't.
I'm not normally
There's
too
nothing
bad
on my end.
Desktop. I've definitely seen a thing about permissions and I'm just looking for it. So annoying. Hang on. So apps personalization. Let's try that one. Nope. No. Let's try the privacy one.
Needing settings on my end.
No, hang on. I might have found something. Allow apps to access your camera. Let's try that. Yay!
Hey, how you doing, sir?
Yeah, excellent. Hang on, I'll just get the camera a bit better.
How you doing?
Oh, good to see you at last.
Good to see you, sir.
You, I'm glad you can see me at last.
Yeah. How's that cabin cruiser going for you? I saw a post recently. It looked like you got a cabin cruiser recently. Is that accurate?
A cabin cruiser?
A boat.
Oh, no. Well, I haven't been on one, but I was down in a place called Queenstown. And there was there's large lakes and there were a lot of boats around the lake. I was taking photos around there. Maybe that's what you saw at one of the boats.
I thought you had picked up a new 32-foot cabin cruiser. I was like, wow, Anthony's moving up.
I couldn't imagine getting one. I wouldn't have the first clue. I think I've done a canoe boat once and a rowboat once. That's about my.
What do they say? There are two days that in a man's life that he'll never forget: the day he gets a boat and the day he sells the boat. It's a lot of work.
Have you ever had one then?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I have. I've had a couple of them. They're a lot of work, and they cost a lot of money.
Yes.
It's not about, for me, it's cost to reward as far as, having friends on the boat and all of that kind of thing. You don't want to think about the cash involved, because it's just, you're just throwing money away for, just for the entertainment of it. And there's no way that you could put a dollar amount on the memories of it. But yeah, it's, if you have to worry about money, don't get a boat. They're just.
But look, that's pretty much true of most things we get interested in it. I know people who spend thousands and thousands on their cars and keeping their cars, in good order and looking good. I mean, we all got something, haven't we? We like to spend our money on.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's I started doing the math on my first boat. It was just a little, 18-foot Evinrude, but no real big deal. And but it cost about $20 an hour after everything was said and done, plus the gas. So, for a kid at that age, I was doing pretty well. And so throwing $40 an hour at some recreation wasn't a big deal, and we were having a great time.
Yeah.
I upscaled and ended up getting a better boat, and it was great for about 5 years. I was really into it. And then I just, after a while, you just, look, this, after you got, slip fees and you got boat, just maintenance and repairs. And after a while, I was just like, okay, I've had enough of this. I think I've had my fill of this. Yes.
So what was your interest in boat? What led you to be interested in boats then?
Oh, well, I had friends that were living on the river, and I was able to get a very cheap slip. And I had friends that I think the foreman at the job I was working had a pontoon boat, or no, excuse me, had a aluminum hull boat, and we went out on the river, and I just immediately loved it, because I had been born and raised on the ocean, and we're
really?
Yeah, we're landlocked a little bit here in North Carolina. So it never occurred to me to get into the freshwater aspect of it. But once I got out there and, did some water skiing and a little fishing and this and that, I said, oh, I've got to do this. And so I got into it. But yeah, it's an expensive hobby.
Yes, yeah. And what about now? Have you got any hobbies now? Excuse me.
Well, no, not really. I'm other than Facebook and talking to folks, and I do a little bit of writing and this and that. I'm disabled now, so I can't really, I'm not, I can't go, I definitely can't go water skiing, and there's no way that I could get on a boat and function in any kind of capacity. It's difficult to walk. So no, there's no way that I could actually like any kind of physical hobby. But as far as what I like to do is talk to folks on Facebook, and do now here lately. It's been these Zoom meetings. I've been having a great deal of fun with this.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. So you haven't acquired new interests in, say, painting or music, playing music instruments or something like that?
Yeah, it actually, I used to play the bass and the trumpet a little bit. And I like writing, but I have unfortunately, no ability to paint. I love art, I love sculpture. I love all forms of creation. That kind of creative out. Out or that creative outlook. But I have no talent, Anthony. How about you? I really don't. I cannot draw.
But hang on, Howard. If you say that, then that will be true.
Well, I can mess up a stick figure. Like if
Well,
I write a little stick figure, it's wrong.
yeah, well, that's good. That's good. Who
You got
says
a
it should
point.
be? Who said it should be any other way? You know what I mean? Like,
Well, how about you, Anthony? I mean, what are your interests? What are you into?
well, I mean, I guess really it's just being in the moment.
Yes.
That's my greatest interest, like, and once I'm there, then whatever I'm doing, whether I'm making a cup of tea, washing the dishes, walking in nature, whatever. Those are all my hobbies and interests now. Everything is.
Isn't it the most amazing thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you were talking. I heard you. I think it was you that was saying that you don't get bored anymore, and I
That's
agree with.
right.
I don't. I honestly, uh, I just don't get bored. There's nothing to get bored about.
No, that's right. And I hadn't even realized it until my 18-year-old daughter said the other day, "Oh, I'm bored. I got nothing to do." And that's when I suddenly thought, "Oh, that's interesting," because I don't really feel that anymore. And I
Yeah,
remember feeling it once, but I certainly don't feel it anymore. Yeah, it's amazing.
I completely agree. I had a friend of mine call me the other day, and he, what do you do about boredom? And honestly, I thought about it, and I just could not think of a time when that I have been bored in years. It just doesn't even occur to me to be bored. There's no, there's nothing there that doesn't fascinate me.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even just watching the water run over utensils, like I can be sort of in a state of reverie just at that.
Well, isn't that fascinating though? To actually the I heard some Zen master say this the other years ago, or I read it somewhere. He was talking about how fascinating it is just to walk to the source of water, to get a cup of water and to drink it. Just
Yes,
the infinite uh,
yes,
amazement in that simple act is
absolutely.
yeah, there's it's nothing special. There's nothing different about it, other than how how do you look at that you exist, or you appear to exist on this planet of Earth, and flowing water, and it takes water to keep your body alive, and how that water actually does seem to flow on this planet, for how that actually occurs in any
Yes,
sense, in any way, and then to actually just go and pour a cup and drink it,
yes,
is infinite.
absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, and once you start really looking at it, I mean, it's true of everything, isn't it? It's absolutely true of everything.
I agree completely. Uh there's people, as you were saying, living in the now, just being present in the moment, however you want to say this.
Yeah,
um the fact that you cannot say it accurately, that
yeah,
you cannot say, I
yeah,
am here now getting a glass of water, and that
yeah,
is what is happening in an
yeah,
absolute sense. I could get lost in that for
yes.
days.
And I don't even like saying that word, living in the now. It actually annoys me to even say that word.
What is now without a past or a future? And
Exactly.
what is a past or a future without the absolute of a now. So
Yes.
there is no way to gird that statement.
No, no, absolutely. And I think, you know, the moment I make any statement, I'm limiting something in some way.
I agree.
I'm limiting this the moment I start talking about it, and also I'm moving away from it once I start talking about it.
Yes, yes, that's amazing because yes, you're limiting it in the articulation of it, the attempt to articulate, but then at the same time, uh, you know, you do a disservice, or
Yes.
that's incorrect, but it's
No,
almost a
no,
disservice to say that the articulation or the attempt to articulate it is false. It's that is what's happening.
yes. Yeah, that's right. And the
Or
moment
it
you go in,
appears to be.
the moment you step into that, of course, you've stepped out of this. Although paradoxically you haven't.
Yes, yes. How can you be bored with this?
Exactly.
You know, no matter which way you want to go with it, it can lead you down an infinite hallway in which no matter what kind of genre of thought you want to accept as the appearance of a reality, you want to go down physics or quantum physics, or you want to go down poetry, or in any sense or stretch of imagination, even the idea of a self as an absolute, it will lead you down an infinite hallway of no answer. But it's not the answer that's, that's, there's no goal there. It's not that
No.
you need an answer, it's the beauty of the infinite hallway to experience.
Well, that's right, because I mean, they're just, oh, there's a story that looks like fun today. Let's go and play with that story for a while. Oh, there's another one over there. Let's find out what that's like. Yeah.
And that's so beautiful, because there really is no reason to confine yourself to any one particular way
No.
of looking at it.
No. No. Absolutely. And I still can't. I haven't improved on, which isn't it, but I haven't improved on this is all loving rascality at play.
Yes.
Ultimately, this is just a playful rascality, the whole thing. But
Yes.
there's a love about it. I mean, it's not a maliciousness about it. There's a love about it, but it also is going to knock us off our any moments of smug thinking we know.
Well, isn't that? But that's what I like about the rascality. Your group. Um, what is the name of the group?
Oh, the Rascals Picnic.
The Rascals Picnics. The thing
Yeah.
about it is, any attempt to contain it is essentially debunkable immediately. There's
Yes.
there's no way that you can contain that kind of rascal. I mean, as you said, and there's no way to contain even the the self in that way. You cannot say that I am looking at this. You can't even come to the understanding of the self in the
Yeah.
first place.
Yes.
So there truly is no border or boundary.
Yeah. Great, eh?
I find it fascinating. I don't know. I think you and we've been talking for a couple of years now, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that we're finally able to see each other face to face. I
Yeah.
envisioned you a young spry kid. I thought you were in your 20s. I love your attitude. I love it. It's
Well,
so amazing.
I'm young at heart.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a funny old thing, eh?
Well, You know what I love about the Rascals Picnic is the freedom in regards to the poetry, in regards to the illustrations as well, the art, the creative aspect of the individual. Do you care to talk about that a little bit? Because I think it's fascinating. Your ability to allow people to express themselves as they wish, I think is amazing.
Yeah, well, why wouldn't I want to? You know what I mean? Like, why would I want to control it in any way?
That's so beautiful.
I just want, it's just beautiful to be surprised all the time and to have as little limitation on that as possible. Why would I want it any other way?
Well, and on top of that, and on top of that, your particular take on things, I find to be, it has a romantic texture. It's your writing seems to me to be almost like a love affair.
Yeah,
It seems to me that you are just kind of expressing this bathing of love, that no matter where you're looking or what you're doing, it has to do with this just beauty and love and expression of awe.
And I try, you see, funnily enough, I try not to even say that.
Well, you don't say it specifically. You allude to it, you paint a picture.
Yes. Yeah. I think, as I might have mentioned to you before, I mean, if I go off with my camera, I mean, actually, even without my camera, but particularly when I go out doing photography, I just fall into a reverie. And all I see is love's vibration emanating through everything. It's just breathtaking. So yeah, my writing tends to be about that love. Yeah, and my photography, and my music, and pretty much anything I do, to be honest.
Well, there's another thing. Your music. I mean, I like to think that I am a fan of music, and I really appreciate the art form. Also, photography, but in the sense that you are literally a musician, a classical musician, correct?
Well, again, I wouldn't use that term. I mean, I like music where I hear the vibration. And so that can be anything from, I mean, I do hear it quite strongly in classical music, but also, like in some of the, have you heard of Philip Glass? Have you ever listened to any of Philip Glass's work?
Yes, you actually linked me some about a year ago.
Oh, okay.
And you were working on an nocturne or something, and it was just amazing. You were saying you were learning how to play it on the piano.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh.
Yeah. So really, I mean, I'll listen to pretty much. I mean, I listen to some of my daughter's rap music. I do find there's something missing for me in more modern music, and I can't quite put my finger on what it is, but it feels like something's been lost in recent times.
Yes.
Whether that's soul or whatever, whatever word that is, I'm not sure. But even in the the 60s, 70s, 80s, maybe up to the 90s, it was still there to some degree. Well, certainly with the music I was listening to, anyway. But I feel like something's been lost in the last 20 years.
The interesting thing about music to me, as any art form, a lot of artists in any genre, a lot of what they are expressing is the lack of freedom. They cannot express themselves the way they wish, and so what they do is they make everything that they're about that lack of ability to say whatever they want to say, right? So now that they have almost a free reign, you can say whatever you like nowadays. You can do whatever you want. There's very little censors. I mean, with the internet and everything, you can put out exactly what you want, as you want, how you want, and you can make that public domain. almost. I'm not gonna say everything, but almost everything.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is a lot of artists appear to have that ability to strike out against conformity or oppression and that kind of thing. But when you give them the freedom to be exactly as they wish to be, express themselves exactly as they want, well then, what are you? What is there beside the rebellion? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? What is
Yeah.
there beside the angst?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I used to love, I mean, in my youth, I mean, ELO, Electric Light Orchestra, was one of my
Yes.
favorite
Oh
bands.
God, you gotta love it. Yes.
Yeah. And well, obviously the Beatles, always
Oh,
loved the
gotta love
Beatles.
the Beatles. Yes.
Yeah, there were a few. Kate Bush was a favorite singer of mine. Did you ever come across
Love
Kate
her.
Bush?
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. But alongside that, I always had the journey of the classical music journey because, as a kid, like it wasn't allowed. It wasn't part of the culture I was in.
Mm.
People were seen as weird and effeminate if they listened to classical music.
Right.
So I used to have to sneak into the public library where they had LPs and a little cubicle you go and play the LPs in with headphones. I would go and spend my weekends there at the library listening to all this amazing classical music.
Do
But
you have a favorite?
I couldn't tell anyone though. I couldn't tell anyone in my life what I was doing because nobody would get it.
Yeah. I heard something funny about that years ago when I used to work out a lot, and you go in there and you listen to rock, and you're pushing weights around and doing all these things. And I read an article that said that no, that's not what listen to a nice flowing classical music and have that flow just nice, keep your breathing and your heart rate
Yes.
nice and even. Don't go
Yeah.
up with the hard rock. And I
Yeah.
started listening to Chopin a lot, and
Right.
I'm telling you, it worked because you just
Yes.
get lost in the music. And
Yes.
I would run for hours on the treadmill or whatever I was doing, and just
Yeah.
get lost in the different programs
Yeah.
of the training. And
Mm.
I would have never thought that, but one day I tried it, and I was able to go further, and that was
Yes.
beautiful. Yeah.
Look, I'm sure there's something in that music that affects the brain slightly differently to any other music I listen to. Couldn't tell you what exactly it was, but and also it was such for me, because I come from a working class background in the UK, and there was a lot of poverty, both of spirit, materially, and emotionally, psychologically. And this was such a different experience. It just took me to a different world that wasn't present in my actual lived world. So it really did help me in lots of ways, I think, on my own journey. And it continues to.
Well, absolutely. I find it amazing how many modern pieces or modern musicians or modern melodies uh, are all ripoffs of uh, the old classics.
Yeah,
Because they are.
yeah,
I mean, they are accessible to all. You can rip off
yeah,
Tchaikovsky, you can rip off
yeah,
Beethoven, you can rip off all these people, and make
absolutely.
it your own. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. But you can often hear them in there. But yeah, look, I mean, I went through a stage where this was in my 20s, where I was really into anything like all the requiems.
Mm.
Every requiem that was out there, Mozart's, Dvorak, I mean, whoever has written a requiem, Verdi's requiem, I mean, I would listen to them all, and I would dance to them all. And I would have a good workout whenever I danced to
Yeah.
classical music. You know, people looked at me strange once when I said that in a group. Oh, I've been dancing to requiems, and they were going, "What? Why would you dance to that dreary music?" But of course, for me, there was a great passion in it, such a deep passion. And that's what moved me to dance. And this idea that you can only dance to boogie disco music and you cannot dance to any other sorts of music, to me was always a strange concept.
Well, just from the composer's point of view, you have anywhere from 50 to 100 pieces of 100 instruments that you are writing music for. Yes. And every one of these people are representing a mechanism unto themselves, that and all of these mechanisms working in unison, as with, and before electricity and all of this, you had this beautiful amphitheater and the way they would project these things. To think in terms of a composer with that kind of talent, that kind of ability, that is truly beyond, I mean, most of the time we're talking about anywhere from a 3 to a 8-piece band nowadays. But to think in terms of 100 musicians or Absolutely. 50 musicians, oh my gosh, with and all the various.
And then if you had a choir of 300 people on top of that.
Yes.
Like Verdi's Requiem, I don't know if you've ever listened to that, but it's just breathtaking.
Really?
You've got the the main singers, like there'll be a bass, soprano, baritone, but then you've got a huge choir of several hundred. Well, it can be up to several hundred. All of them plus the orchestra, all together. I mean, I guess in some ways it is like a sort of a microcosm of the universe, isn't it? It's a slightly bigger idea of everything's really all part of one.
Yes.
And how they harmonize together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even well, we the story of Beethoven and him being deaf and him internalizing that music. What was it? What is it? The Requiem of gosh. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, you're not talking about the Pastoral Symphony, are you?
Yes. It's beautiful. To come up with that as a deaf, and I mean, it's just, no matter how brilliant you are, I mean, that to me is, I mean, to do that from memory of sound, for example, and that is just.
I've seen some amazing things with music, with people.
Ode to Joy. That's what I was thinking about.
Ode to Joy. Yeah. Because I think that's played in Fantasia, Walt Disney's Fantasia. Yes.
Ode to Joy is just. I mean, you have to. There's no explaining it. You have to listen to it. It's beautiful.
Yeah. But I've had the privilege over the years of working with people. With music, and it's quite amazing the profound impact it can have on people. And I remember years ago I was working in with something called the Simon Community in London, which works with homeless people. This was in the 80s, and there was this Irish guy, and he'd fall off the wagon sometimes. It was like a residential place, and then he would go and get blind drunk. And he would be obnoxious and unruly and cause trouble and fights and all the rest of it. I would play him James Galway flute music, and he would literally drop to the ground and go completely silent and go into a reverie sort of state.
Yeah.
Whilst the music was playing. The moment I stopped playing the music, it was back to how he was. But once I put the music on again, it just stopped him. And like he was utterly moved by it. It took him somewhere else. It's amazing.
Really?
Yeah, it was amazing.
It's funny because I had a similar incident when I was in the Navy. Guy was going crazy, just totally unruly. We were going to have to tackle this guy. I mean, he literally was losing his mind, and my buddy just turned on. I wish I could tell you what it was, but he turned on the symphony, And the guy stopped in his tracks and he just
Yeah.
sat down in his rack and he just sat there and listened to it. And, you know, nobody said anything. Everybody just let him sit. And he just kind of laid back. And as long as the music was playing, he was okay. You know, but if you tried to shut it off, he'd get back up and
Yes.
start stirring around again. So
But
yeah.
I wondered if it would have been like if somebody had turned on some death metal. I wonder whether it would have had the same effect.
I doubt it very seriously.
Because you know what they do now where I live? They had a problem outside the public library in town. I live in a place called New Plymouth, where, you know, a lot of the youth and the so-called baddies would hang out outside.
Yeah.
And so what they've done to get rid of them is they put loudspeakers outside and play classical music. And that has cleared them. They don't
No
want to
way.
be around. Yeah. They don't want to be around the classical music because the vibration of it obviously does something to their brains.
Yeah,
It's not what
it's
they're
getting them
normally
out
used
of
to.
sync.
And they just go. So they don't have a problem anymore with any sort of youth hanging around causing trouble. Amazing.
I mean, isn't that the most? Now that's a genius resolution
Yeah,
to
it
an
is.
issue. That really, truly is. You know, because
But also
anybody
it might be saying something quite sad, that people are so disconnected now from what's in classical music that it actually repels them.
Mm.
And what does that say about our culture, in a sense that that's now what's happening?
And you know, in that regard, it might be helpful to show some of the angst or whatever, the youth that are having an issue with this. You can show them how that music has permeated to this day, the music as a whole.
Yeah.
For example, some of the most brilliant rock songs of the day are ripoffs of these classic people. Say Stairway to Heaven, for example, is Wagner. I mean, it's you know, Jimmy Page says this. I ripped this off from Wagner. I mean, it's direct. You know, and because the music is of eminent domain, you don't have to pay any kind of royalties to any of these composers or their trusts. You can take that music and meld it to your own now, but it's a direct ripoff. And he was expressing, and it's many musicians nowadays will tell you that they rip it off from Bach, from Chopin, from Tchaikovsky, from Beethoven, from Wagner. It's all classical put to a modern beat. So if you were able to show these people, these kids, you know, look, man, this is tied to music from hundreds of years ago.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love the. Are you familiar with Tolkien's books?
Tolkien?
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you read the Silmarillion?
No, I have not.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful books I've ever read. And he does a lovely creation myth right at the beginning, and it's all around music. And, you know, I mean, it's got a god in it, of course, but, you know, the boss god creates some lesser gods, and he creates this music about the creation of the universe, and particularly of Middle Earth. But one of the gods, like the most powerful of the lesser gods, wants to run the show himself. And
sounds familiar.
Exactly. So he adds a theme into the great theme, his own theme, and then for a while they contend, and then some of the gods go for, he's called Melkor, fall under Melkor's spell, and then there's this sort of, you know, this great divide that occurs. But at the end, what was lovely is the main god says, well, even though you've tried to do what you want, in the end, everything you've done will fall into my service.
Yes.
And it does, you know, and then it sort of plays out in the Silmarillion. It all plays out, the disharmony and the harmony, and ultimately it all ends up getting to the same place it was always going to end up, sort of thing. Yeah. but there's some lovely imagery in there. I really like. I'm a great fan of Tolkien. It's great imagery.
Oh, he's brilliant. I like that. I actually, you know, I've watched some documentaries about the man, the author, and a lot of it is metaphors of biblical and historical human
Well,
aspects.
actually, it was mainly based on Norse mythology.
Norse mythology with and then mingled with
A little bit of
like World War II. He was a
yes,
product of World War
yeah,
II. I
yeah,
myself being a product of World War II, my dad being German, my mother being French, my grandfather being German, moving to America, having with my father in tow, and then my after right after World War I, and then my father going back to fight Germany in World War II and meeting my mother. I am a product of World War II. And
yeah,
so when,
yeah.
you know, my brother and I are both a direct, you know, product of that whole situation. So, and though that might sound, you know, I mean, it's egotistical to say that, but yes, if those two things didn't happen, if those two wars didn't happen, I wouldn't be here. And so when I
Yeah.
heard that about Tolkien, I looked into it, and it turns out that a lot of what he was saying, like you said, is the Norse and all the different religions, all the different things
Yeah.
that he pulls together in his books. It's truly beautiful.
Yes. So I'd highly recommend it if you get a chance to read the Silmarillion. I think you'd like it.
You know, I've heard of the book and I've never read it. I think I need to do that. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he hits the nail on the head in quite a lot of things in his metaphors and imagery.
It
Yeah.
truly is incredible how he, yeah, you know, all the different, you know, you can say what you want about the fantasy aspect of it, but
Yeah.
he's using his imagination to express this, you know,
Yes.
this history of humanity
Well, it's
as
no
he
more
could
a
see it.
fantasy than any other, is it? What
Thank
story is
you.
not fantasy?
Right. You might as well have fun with it, and on top of that,
Exactly.
make it an epic,
Yeah.
because really, truly, isn't it for each and every one of us? You know, the individual sees an epic in their daily experience, whether, for example, life and death. You know, the fact that we could die at any moment, or
Yes.
or you could fall in love at the drop of a hat. You could turn a corner and
Yes.
look at somebody and fall in love. You know,
Yeah.
or you can turn and say, "Hey, what a beautiful day," and then pass out and die. You know,
Yep.
so that
Yep.
infinitely, you know, odd aspect of what it means to be alive is that you could die at any moment, and then all of the things that happen within that experience
Yeah.
is I love what, you know, at first I might have had a you know, an issue, or, you know, maybe at one point in my life oh, this is just, you know, hocus pocus, it's just, it doesn't mean anything, it's ridiculous. But no, in reality, you're looking at a man's imagination in the now as it appears to
Yeah.
him, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's why, I don't know if you remember, I put a post up in your group a few weeks ago about the gift of the brain.
Yeah.
Because in a sense, you know, we can sort of bag it and say it's, you know, causing all sorts of problems and all the rest of it. But actually,
Right.
it's amazing that each brain is seasoned slightly differently, and therein lies the gift.
Right. Well, and I agree with that, and I'll take it just one step further and say that there is a brain at all that is unknowable, in that
Yes.
I
Yeah.
cannot know the nature of my own existence as it appears. I can't know reality to be real as it appears to me. It appears real, but I can't know that objectively. I can't know the source of my thought is a physical brain in time and space. That's relativity. That's just the way it is. You cannot know that. So the subjective nature of the
Yes.
story from the outset is beautiful, and then to consider other people as real or unreal is unknowable, but yet here are all these amazing stories that
Yeah.
appear out of this unknowable
Yes.
fantasy of a, because what can you call it? You can't call it real, you can't call it not real, because it
Yes.
appears to happen. You
That's
hurt,
right.
you love, all of that
Yeah.
stuff. So
Yeah.
and so why it's like having no position to defend or to
Yeah.
or to project. And
Yes.
so from that understanding, you can see how Tolkien took that and just went wild with it. I mean, his
Yeah.
imagination was incredible.
Absolutely. Yes. And that's, I mean, and in a sense, who can't have access to that?
Yes. And that's the story of it, right? But wouldn't isn't Tolkien kind of like a composer in a sense,
Yes. Yes.
in that as an author, here's a man that has written books where there are literally thousands of characters,
Yes.
thousands of characters, and he knows
Yeah.
each and every one of these different characters, and they all have backstories, and
Yes.
it just never ends.
Yes.
You know, this is this
Yeah.
beautiful story of the Shire, you know.
Yes, absolutely. 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 And you know, I mean, there's a few themes in the Silmarillion, but one is the foundation of a place called Numenor, which was in the final battle between Melkor and the other gods, where he's defeated. Mortal men helped the gods in that battle, and so, a certain group of them, and so they're gifted Numenor, which is a land set aside for them, and they have long life, like they live up to 500 years. But over time, of course, they want more, and then they capture the big baddie, who's at that point Sauron, bring him back, and he slowly corrupts the king. And so eventually he gets them to attack Valinor, which is the land of the gods. You know, and he sort of builds up the, why should you be a servant to those gods? You can take over, and all this sort of thing. Of course, it was doomed to fail, and they all get destroyed.
Right, right.
And Sauron loses his physical form in that, but it's an amazing story.
I wonder
There.
what he means by the land of the god. I mean, like you had. I mean, for me, when I'm reading, no matter what I'm reading, I like to. I'm a slow reader. Because I really want to understand what the author is trying to say, and I might be slow, but I remember, and I can, and I know. Oh, wait a minute. Now this, I can put pieces together and put a book together, and the plot in a way that many might not. They might read it a lot faster, but they don't understand the entirety of the story. Whereas I will read much slower, and I can say, but wait a minute. And one thing about Tolkien that fascinates me is his uh, references to gods.
Yes.
The Norse being completely different from what, like, say, Judeo-Christian, Muslim.
Yes. Yeah.
What do you think that's about? I mean, what do you think the land of the gods is about to J.R. Tolkien?
Well, I mean, I think he describes Valinor is only a holy land of the gods because the gods dwell there. But I mean, my take on it is, I mean, there's energy. I guess it's about energy, isn't it? I mean, the word God's quite loaded, but
Right.
because what in the Silmarillion, like each god has its own job. So there's
Right.
there's Ulmo, who is the god of the oceans, and so his job is to look after the oceans and manage the storms and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Yavanna, and she is the one that grows things. So she grows the first two holy trees in creation. You've got one of them who's into making things like, so he creates dwarves because they like to go underground and dig for stuff and make stuff.
So
So
the
each
dwarves
god,
have their own creator.
So each god has its own job, in a sense, its own energy to do certain things. That's how he's done it. And, you know, and that, well, Melkor's job, of course, is to destroy everything. But again, you know, I mean, you need destruction for creation, don't you?
That's right. That's right. It sounds, it's like, I'll put it like the American Indians, or, you know, any polytheistic religion, Hinduism or anything like this, where there's a wind god, there's a sky god, there's a sun god, there's a moon god. The Egyptians, for example, had many gods, and Tolkien is basically saying the same thing, in that it's almost like it's a story about a cause for an effect. God is essentially a story about a cause. And so, you know, if you were to be monotheistic, you could say there is this one, you know, prime mover, non-mover, or whatever you want to say. But then in a polytheistic way, you could say that, you know, the wind is because of this god, or the you know, the sun is for this god.
Yes.
And what Tolkien does with that is create an entire tapestry of just imaginings in regards to these cause and effects that we really don't truly completely understand as humans.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I take Tolkien's story of it all as serious as any other story.
Yeah.
Whether it's the Bible, whether it's the DSM mental health manual, whatever you want, whatever story it is, I take that. It's just as valid as any other story, and equally, none of it's valid at all.
Yes. Well, and you know, the thing with as far as the Bible is concerned, you know, I've read it as well, and the thing about the Bible that's different from the Tolkien, the Tolkien things, you know, one is clearly, you know, obviously, you know, admittedly fantasy, and the other one is saying that, you know, it's a reality of some kind. But the Bible is created by thousands of different people. There's hundreds of authors, and, you know, all kinds of things mixed and matched, and, you know, you really don't have a source there for like one. There's no one writer. Even the first 5 books of the Bible that originally were supposed to be from Moses are not from Moses. There's like there's at least 3 different types of stories that rumble around with it. I think they call it the J, the H, and the I, and they're just 3 different types of stories through Genesis, numerology, Deuteronomy, all of this. So there's really no one author for the Bible, whereas Tolkien has taken this mythology and has created this library. Just the mind, the ability to keep all of that together, to me, is unfathomable. I cannot put it into words. How could you keep all of that in your mind? It's truly amazing.
I mean, it's hard enough keeping up with it when you're reading it.
Forget about it. I mean, literally, when he starts talking about this, you know, Agat began, Amasal begat Baggins, begat, and each one of those people that he is talking about, you know, the father of this, the father of that, and the father of that, each one of those people have an entire family story that Tolkien writes about. It's incredible how he was able to do that.
Oh, it's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. Yeah. I mean, and it's funnily enough, you know, in a way, when I stopped having an interest in the Bible, Tolkien became the Bible for me, in a sense, for a while. But it was a much more enjoyable experience of that than it was reading the Bible, for sure.
and really, I mean, if Tolkien, as far as I know, now don't hold me to this, and I would like to look into it further now. But, as far as I know, Tolkien believed in a God. He believed. I thought he believed in a Christian God, And you're saying that no, it's more based on Norse.
Yeah.
And so I'm
Yeah.
actually interested to see where he's coming from in a specific sense. Do you have any information in that regard? Like, why would he be into Norse rather than Christian?
Look, honestly, I
from-
don't know. I don't know. I
I,
haven't really looked into that, or I can't remember now. I probably did look into it at one point, but yeah, I've forgotten now. But clearly, I mean, the way he's written and what he's written about would be indicate that he's a bit more than just having a Christian view of it. Because I mean,
yes.
it was, I mean, certainly in his time still, I'd imagine, it wouldn't be viewed as a very good thing to be looking at Norse mythology, because there's still the old Viking sort of residue still left over in the UK, you know,
Yeah.
pagan,
Oh well,
you know,
yes,
that sort of stuff.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So it wouldn't have been popular at the time, I wouldn't have thought, in some ways, but he found a way to get it in there though. So good on him.
And
Oh,
even
there's some lovely. Oh, sorry.
no, please go ahead, please.
No, I was just thinking of there's some amazing stories in there. One's about Beren and Luthien. So Luthien was the fairest being ever on Middle Earth, and she was the daughter of a sort of a semi-god and an elven king, and she would sing the spring into manifesting, or she would sing the morning into manifesting. And Beren, a base mortal man, came upon her one day when she was singing, and he was floored. He loved her instantly, and she met him. And when they met, she fell in love with him. And there's a
That's
whole
the incredible.
story. There's a whole story that goes in that, and their journey through adversity, because her father didn't want her to have anything to do with a lowborn mortal man, so he was dead against it, and he sent him on a quest where he knew he would die.
Right.
And he says, if you complete this quest for me, then I'll let you marry my daughter, knowing that he would no way would he survive.
Right.
Because basically it was getting there was some holy jewels that Morgoth, the big baddie of them all, had stolen and wore on a crown. And so he told me to go into the throne room of Morgoth and take these jewels back. They're called the
Piece of cake.
Yeah, but what he didn't count on was that Luthien went with him, and they went on this journey together. And anyway, I mean, there's a whole story in that, but right at the end, they are successful. They get the holy jewel, but a sort of one of Morgoth's guard wolves bites the jewel from Beren's hand. Literally bites his hand off with the jewel in it. But because it's a holy jewel, it sends the wolf mad. And the wolf's like it's a giant wolf, and it's just destroying everything in its sort of state of anguish. And there's a battle at the end, and Beren dies. He gets killed right at the end. And but Luthien sings a song to the god of death. He's like, they're called the halls of Mandos, where everybody goes once they die. And she moves him to tears, and so he lets Beren come back to life, but the cost is that she has to give up her immortal life. And in a sense, I don't know if you've watched The Lord of the Rings, but it follows on in that. So Luthien's descendant is Arwen, and I don't know if you remember in The Lord of the Rings, but she gives up her immortal life to be with Aragorn.
To me, it's analogous to falling in love with that woman. I mean, for me, there's that one woman. It seems that the story permeates throughout my experience. I'm using loose language here. We're just having fun, but the reality is there's that one woman. And for me, she was a god. I mean, this is not a human.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And
yes.
and I put her on that pedestal, and she deservedly stays there today. The thing about it is, she chooses to come with me on this exploration of, or on this
Yeah.
quest through life, in which there's no way that I can survive it, because life equals death. I mean, you're gonna die anyway. But
Yes.
even to get to, this pinnacle of, even to complete the quest, I'm still mortal, and she's still this god to me. So the thing about it is she comes to help me. I go on this quest, and the whole battle ensues with, as you were saying, it's kind of a mixed metaphor, but that's how I see it. I mean, it that woman is that one woman for every man, and that you look at her and bam, you're in love. There's no reason for it. There's no way that you can,
Mm.
explain it. It's just
Yeah.
magic. And in that magical realm of love, um, and the beauty of the story is that she also loves him, as mortal and flawed as he is. And
Yeah.
even though the consequences of, the life that they find themselves in puts him on this quest, and she follows him, she actually has to become mortal in order
Yeah.
to save his life.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
think it's analogous to that story that never ends. I mean,
Yes.
that brilliant love, the love of your life story.
Yes.
And he just put it
Yeah.
to, it's a symphony, honestly, of an imagination in that story.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It truly is remarkable how he is
Yeah.
actually able to put that into words.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's funny because now I see that everywhere.
Yes,
The beloved, in a sense.
yes, yes,
What's excluded? What can be excluded from the
yes.
beloved?
Nothing. It is the story.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
beloved is the story.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, that even a mortal man could fall so deeply in love with something so beyond his reach, but
Yeah.
yet that that beauty, or that, just that tale of the fact that on occasion a lucky guy could have the woman that he worships actually fall from grace and be with him
Yes.
through thick and thin,
Well,
for the adventure
in
of
a sense,
this.
that is the gift of grace, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Because we can't do anything to get it.
Yeah. And
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 yeah.
excuse me, go ahead.
Yeah, no, no, carry on.
Oh well, the beautiful thing about the matters of the heart is that it has nothing to do with reason or logic. It has nothing to
No,
do with
no.
with meaning or purpose. It literally creates itself. The meaning is the story. It's not that
But
the story is depicting a meaning. The meaning itself is the story and the romance of it.
logic never, I've never found logic brings me to my knees.
Yeah.
I've always found love does.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Mm,
Yes. And there's you know you can only paint a picture. You can use words to describe it, but
yeah,
love is its own force, is it not?
yes, yes, absolutely. Well, I guess it's a bit like, what Alan Watts talks about, we're all focused on the menu rather than the meal.
Yeah.
We're all busy writing menus and creating flash sounding menus, but the meal, nobody's eating the meal.
Well, the another thing about love that I find amazing is that I don't think I've ever run across somebody that had not been stricken by love. You know what I mean? No matter
Yeah,
who you're talking to, no matter
yes,
what kind of genre of thought they're involved in, there
yes,
is a love in that story. Whether
yeah,
you could be the most harsh materialist, or you could be a spiritualist, or you could whatever genre you want to put to
yeah,
it, there is this uncontrollable force of love that has nothing to do with your free will. It has
No.
nothing to do with a choice. You don't
Yeah.
choose to love someone. Love chooses you. It says
Yeah.
you're in love. You're bam. That's it. There's
Yeah.
no choice in it. It's not like, oh, I'm going to love this person because they're good for me or
Yeah.
because they can get me something. No, you can choose that in a rational sense of like, well, I'm going to treat this person well and I'm going to love them as to take care of them in this kind of a deal or
Yeah.
bartering.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but that has nothing
Yeah.
to do with true love. True
No.
love
No.
has
No.
nothing to do with reason.
No. No. Absolutely not. Yeah. Yeah. But it's like, what I've noticed in myself is over the years, I've moved away from, that being like a woman. There's a woman, a
Yes.
female that's going to be that partner that completes my soul sort of story. To
Right.
actually now I can just walk in the forest and it's there.
And
I don't
love
even have to,
is.
I don't even have to walk in the forest, actually. It's just always there now.
It's just there.
Yeah. And so
The
everything,
beloved. I love that.
yeah, yeah. What can't be the beloved ultimately? And that's what's amazing for me, to notice that occasionally.
The brush with that infinite sense of a lack of you're not an individual that is looking to gain something. You're not.
Yeah.
It's not a purpose. There's nothing
No,
there for
no,
the individual. Love
no.
simply is.
And the
This
moment I want it or seek it or looking for it or whatever, of course, then it doesn't happen. And so it's
the
just
funniest
getting out the way, isn't it?
well, the funniest thing is that it hits you when you least expect it, right?
Yes, yes. And I love that. That's how I write my poetry. I never ever sit down to write a poem.
Right.
It just arrives, and it's never taken me, any poem has never taken me more than a minute to write.
Right.
They just
It's almost
arrive.
like love is writing it.
Yeah, it just arrives. Zoop, gone.
Now,
Said what I need
is
to
it
say. It's not even what I'm saying anyway. It just arrives.
the flowing of it in my experience, the flowing of poetry, the best ones are the ones you don't even write. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
even you writing it.
No, it's not. How could it be?
It has nothing to do with thought. You're not you're not trying to put this thing together. It actually just kind of writes itself. Your
Yes.
hand just kind of starts moving.
Yeah.
And the best poems, I think, it's this entire story of mystery. The most beautiful stories are all just they write themselves.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. And I never edit.
Yes.
It's out. That's it. I've never edited a poem.
Every time I edit, Mark, let me tell you, Anthony, excuse me. Every time I look at it and let me just change a little bit. As soon as I change that little bit, let me just change it, and the whole thing turns the book. You can't
Yes.
edit it, right?
No, no.
That,
Bugger
that
that. I'm not putting
Thank you.
myself through that.
Well, that's absolutely my experience. If the moment you second guess it, you
Yes.
ruined it. Just
Yeah.
put it out, just the way it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
in this way, when somebody critiques you or critiques the writing, if they were to critique it, you can just smile and say, "Well, I didn't even really write it."
Yes, that's right. So hang on. So take that approach then to your beliefs about your own artistic skills.
Well,
So your homework for today is to get some crayons or something and a bit of paper and just make some patterns on paper.
that's generally speaking what I do when I do feel like creating some kind of illustration. I
Yeah.
generally speaking, I just write. I just do like little patterns, you know,
Yeah.
whether it be little, I mean, it could be circles, it could be swooshes, it could be any abstract kind of, you know, whatever comes to mind. And
Yes.
that's what I do. I mean, but I never think that in terms of, you know, this is art for somebody else's sake. I just kind of write it. But it's generally speaking, it's just, you know, it's not very good. It's not good.
Stop it, Howard. Stop it. Stop saying that stuff. You know, I'm amazed how many people, you know, will say, "Oh, I can't sing. Oh, I can't paint. I can't draw. I can't do this. I can't do that." And it's like, and you can see, you know, I mean, with the way their schooling is impacted on them, the way that the family is impacted on them, it's just shut them down. But I mean, like, we're all creative and artistic. Everybody has it in there.
Well,
But if
you know
you're telling
what?
yourself a whole lot of stories about, I can't do this, I'm no good, and all the rest of it, then of course it's never going to happen, is it?
Yeah. Well, you know, I have a friend right now. You know, I don't want to mention her name because she's very reclusive, so I'll respect that. But you know her very well, and she's, you know, putting out these watercolors and things. And I love her very much. She's in Rascals, and
Yeah, I know
she's
who you're
putting out
talking
these,
about.
and she thinks they're terrible. And I'm like,
Yes,
this is beautiful. What are you talking about? This is
yeah,
amazing. I mean,
yes,
this is absolutely, you know, just exquisite to me. It's
yes, yes.
unbelievable talent, and she just runs herself down all the
I
time.
know, I know.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I don't.
and that's the irony, though, isn't it? It's about, like, in a sense, you know, we are that love, we are that beauty. It was always there in us, and the journey seems to be to, you know, realize that.
Yeah.
And what a journey it is.
It's, the beauty of it, the beauty of it for me. I mean, and so many people that I talk find what I'm about to try to say, like non-duality, for example. I'll just say non-duality. Um, and living in the now, as they this horrible phrase, but
I
living
know.
for this moment. They say that it's awful, and no, no, not at all. Because simply because this moment is this moment for its own sake. There is no condition, there's no value, there's no cause and no effect for it. It is for its own sake as it is. And when I see these beautiful paintings from this young lady that we're, you know, that I'm talking about, she's, you know, she's like, oh, this is just, it's horrible because of this, and you know, yeah, that's okay, but you know, I don't like that. And I'm looking
Yeah,
at this thing and I'm thinking, oh my god, just this expression in this immediate experience is fascinating. She had one where this woman was she painted this woman crying, and it struck me immediately. I was like, you know, my heart stopped. It
yes,
was just so beautiful.
yeah.
And she couldn't see it for the life of me. I think she literally
Mm,
thinks that she's not very good. And
yes,
it's just,
yes,
I could never do something like that. You know, I
yeah,
don't think, but the fact that I can appreciate it for what it is, to
yes.
me, yeah, I'll take
So I
it.
would, absolutely, I agree. And I mean, I guess because our, you know, our talents are all different, aren't they? You know, we're all caught in the net slightly differently. I mean, I couldn't imagine painting like that either. But equally, I don't want to tell myself that, because that would stop me doing it, wouldn't it?
Well, do you have an illustration that you can show me? I mean, do you paint?
I have on and off in the past, but not in recent years. No, I haven't. Oh, well, I occasionally do a stick figure with people, like somebody I might be working with or something, when I'm encouraging them to draw or do something. But no, because I think that, you know, at the moment it hasn't been something that I've been drawn to particularly.
Right.
In the same way that I might do with, like, music. I mean, like, I play a whole range of instruments. Um,
Well,
or writing, you know, there's other things where I'm more drawn to. But I'm not saying, though, that I'll never paint, because I don't know. It might arrive, it might not. And I don't mind.
well, I'll tell you what, the piano piece that you linked to me probably 6 months ago or so. We were talking about music, and you linked me something that you were practicing. For anybody that watches this, I would encourage you to ask Antony Mark here to share his music with you, because it truly blew my mind.
Really?
Oh my gosh, it was an incredible piece. I
Oh,
can't remember the name of it, but
it
it
was
was something that you had been working on for quite some time, or you had said that, and I was like, "Well, what do you mean?" And I was thinking in terms of, 4/4 beat, some kind of rock. But no, this was a piano piece, a concerto maybe, that it was just fascinating. I mean, it was so complex. There were so many different changes to it that
I
I
don't
found it was difficult for me to wrap my mind around, how you can keep that many rhythms in your mind simultaneously, and to actually create that piece of music. Fascinating to me, beyond my ability to. I don't have that kind of dexterity at all, but it seemed
yeah.
like you were well beyond uh, any you know any idea that I might have of. I'm a form. I love rock, and I love rock music. I love the simplicity of it, but I also love that I can. It's in my wheelhouse. It's easy for me. A swing
Yeah.
beat. It's 4/4 beat. Very
Yeah.
simple. Maybe a 2/6. But you were putting you were throwing notes out there that I couldn't even comprehend, and to have that kind of ability, to put that many notes and that many changes in the space of, I think it was maybe an hour and 15 minutes. Um, it blew. I literally, uh,
I don't know.
I was
I've
awe
never,
inspired. Yeah,
Howard, I think you must be talking about someone else. I've never put uploaded an hour and 15 minutes music. I mean, I uploaded one piece at the I can't remember what it's called now. That artist, the site with Lily that we set up initially together.
yes.
Dog Days Are Over. I
Okay.
uploaded about a 2 or 3 minute piece there. That's the only time I've ever. Or are you talking
Maybe
about somebody
you
else's
just.
music?
I think you were. I think you might have. You might have linked me the music that you were working on, and maybe
Oh,
it
okay.
wasn't your particular. It wasn't you doing it, but
Oh,
uh,
it might have been a pic. Maybe it was a link to Philip Glass or something.
what was? Yeah, yes. What was the
Oh,
last complicated piece you were working on? The piano. It was a piano piece.
right. Yeah. Well, you see, the thing is with that, you see, I don't write music. I don't read music.
No, 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 no. This was another. This was another. Somebody else had written it, and you were just trying to learn it. Now that's from what I understand. I might be.
Right. Okay. I don't remember that, but maybe I did.
It was.
But yeah,
It had like 16 changes in 10 minutes. It blew my mind.
right. But I
Yeah,
do play
yeah.
the piano. I do play the piano most days. But I just, I just go with whatever's arriving.
It you know how it is with with a musician like myself, that keeping a beat is one thing, but switching the timing and the different rhythms within rhythms.
Mm,
I was, I was amazed. I was, I actually, I thought, wow, how, I was grateful that I had gotten to know you, and that I even knew a musician that could actually take on this piece. It's well beyond my ability, and I'm not dogging myself. I'm just saying that, yeah, that is something that I couldn't do. And
well, we need to get you some keyboards so you can sort of have them next to your bed, so you
the
can have a
the
little think.
funny thing is that a keyboard would be more beneficial. I think I could do that more. I can't sit up and do a bass. I have to lay on my left side. So
Right.
like a little keyboard right next to me might actually be something
Yeah.
that I could do, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then when people arrive at Bedside Manor, you know, you can play a little introductory tune to them.
Yes. Well, you know, the beautiful thing about being in this situation, uh, you know, talking about, uh, well, again, we're just talking stories, but you know, at, I saw myself being here at one point in my life. I knew I would be in a situation. Now I know that sounds ridiculous, but I knew I would be here. So
Mm,
when it actually did happen, it was almost like an affirmation of sorts. It's like because I had seen it when I was a kid, you know, and that is just the story of me. But so
yes,
you know, when people say, "Well, how do you stay so?" You know, why are you so happy? And I'm like, because I saw this, you know, 40 years ago, and
yes,
and
yes,
so the beauty of that is that um, from that moment of seeing um, things in the future and all this. You know, I'm just speaking loosely here, having fun with the beloved, and the reality is that I spent most of my life talking about these issues of non-duality and getting to what can and cannot be known. You know, knowledge being, you know,
yeah,
completely unknowable. What I found out is
yeah,
that you can't know anything and not in an objective sense.
yeah,
So I could sit here and talk with you about the fantasy and brilliance of J.R. Tolkien, and we could talk about love and the beloved and our different aspects of how we see what it appears in this moment. But um, you know, it's not like I need to. I don't need to worry about how that might sound to another person. Oh, this, because people will criticize you for whatever reason. And
yes,
for me to sit here and to talk to you about the genius of J.R. Tolkien and all of the what it might have meant, and the classical music and the whole nine yards about art, all of this is predicated on uh, my understanding that there really is no time or space um, in that um, the memory of what happened and what appears to be happening now and a desire for what happens in the future is all just a story,
yeah,
and it's a matter of how you want to illustrate that story,
yes,
you know.
yes, absolutely. Also, you know, I mean, I've been thinking, reflecting recently on like timelessness. And if there is, and again, it's a story, but if there is a place of timelessness, then it would make sense that the future you and the past you and all the yous can all access that
Yeah.
at the same time in the same moment, that it's all there accessible.
Yes.
There's just a little thing that might make that difficult, and we can call that whatever we want, but ultimately what you are now, what you were yesterday, what you are in the future is all now.
Yes.
So
Yes. Yes.
some level you're going to be able to, you already know,
Yeah.
don't you? You already know everything
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
about your whole life.
I completely agree in that it's not a succession of events through
Yes,
time happening in a cycle. It is
yes,
all things appearing in this here and now, right?
yes,
So
yeah,
it is the point blank materialist, the religious spiritualist, however you want, everything in between, hardcore realism, which
yeah,
to me, it's impossible. When I talk to a realist, um, my first question is what is your foundation for reality? And whatever they say, we can talk about it. And
yeah,
that's the point. See, we can discuss realism. Okay, we can have an agreement about what reality might mean or what reality might be, but we cannot know this. You can't know, who you are or what this is or what reality is. So you're in a story. There's no way that you can deny that unless you want to negate your own realism. because the
Yeah.
reality of the situation is that you have no objectively true foundation in which to say this story starts here and it goes, this
Yes.
point is actual and all things are relative to this understanding. But that is not objectively true, and it cannot be. And so even a realist has to come to terms with that understanding of the reality we find ourselves in, that it
Yeah.
is unknowable.
Yeah.
And so, and I have spent my life looking at things like this, and now I find myself talking to people from around the world about all manner of things. Today's J.R. Tolkien and symphonies.
Yeah.
Earlier it was a completely different. Every person has their own reality and
Yes.
their own story in which
Yeah.
they are projecting this understanding, and it's beautiful. I find
Yeah.
myself here now, exactly where I saw myself 40 years ago, for is actually 45 years ago. So,
Yeah.
for me, even the fantasy of J.R. Tolkien is kind of an affirmation in the the beauty of realism, the reality being that there is no one reality.
Yes.
It appears to be real, but it is not
Yeah.
real as it appears. And
Yeah.
so no matter which way, no matter who I'm talking to, we can have this discussion. And I find you in particular fascinating because I didn't know this about you. I didn't know the 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 side of you that is about J.R. Tolkien and that fantasy.
Yeah.
And yet throughout all this time that I've known you, every time I read your poetry, I'm like, that's love. He's talking about love. Everything you say is coming from that place. And
Yes.
I just think you're amazing, man. I'm so grateful. Thank you
Bless
for
you.
giving me this time and just being my friend. I'm really grateful to you.
Bless you, Howard.
Oh, right back at you, my
The
friend.
feeling's mutual, my friend.
Right from the heart, my man.
And it's great that we can now actually meet face to face.
Yes, it
Yeah.
isn't funny. It's been 2 years, and now,
I know.
and you know,
And that's been part of my journey because, going back a couple of years, I wasn't familiar with any of this technology even. I just didn't do it. I mean, I occasionally did a Skype. That was about it. But really, I didn't even know how to work Messenger properly.
and that's for me too. They people kind of dragged me kicking and screaming into this technical world. The computers. I've got a computer now. It's well above any. I have no idea how to use it, and I'm having other people help me get
Yeah.
into this ability to be able to, for years I never showed my face. I would never say anything about
Mm,
my personal self. I would never put myself out there until finally one day I
yes.
just said, you know what, let's just do. I'm just gonna do this. Forget it.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so, but since I've done that, I've realized that, you know, I got dragged kicking and screaming, but now that I'm here, it really has opened up this entirely different kind of
Mm,
venue, where
yes.
the likes of us can get to know each other on a level that we could not do simply through Facebook. Okay,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
Facebook it definitely helped us get to this spot.
Yes.
So I would just
Absolutely.
like to say, how grateful I am. Thinking about years ago, when for example, when the group just opened, or my group, I don't know, not really. I was shocked. I couldn't believe how much feedback I had gotten, and I don't think I handled it very well. But you were there for me through most of that, if not all of that. And you're still here now, and
Yeah.
where I cannot say that I would be such a good friend. And you have really been with me through a lot of my trips and my stumblings and all of that thing, and you still remained staunchly my friend all the way through it. And I just want to say thank you, sir, from the bottom of my heart.
You're very welcome, Howard. You're very welcome, my friend.
Just amazing.
Yeah, we had our moments, but that's part of the story, isn't it? To
Yes,
have
it
our
is,
moments.
sir.
Yeah, yeah. But it doesn't really change anything. It doesn't have to change anything anyway. No.
It's actually more beautiful now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Absolutely.
and there lies the everything within this moment. The easy and the hard and the difficult and
Yeah.
the confusion and all of that just
Yeah.
kind of all blends into this beautiful tapestry of right now.
Absolutely. And I don't know about you, but that's how I see my life now. When I look back over my lifetime in this form, I'm just amazed and blessed. Even the times that were struggles, especially the times that were struggles,
Yeah.
I now see them for the tapestry, that's been created, and it's just amazing.
Isn't
And I
it
never would have
beautiful?
thought it. I never
Well,
would
isn't
have
it
thought
beautiful? Like when you're going through those hard times, you
Yeah.
don't think that this is going to be good later,
Yeah.
but really, it actually brings out the beauty of it all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's really struck me how, for a long time, there's this fantasy that somehow it's possible to live a life without suffering and struggle.
Yeah.
So many people are chasing that, and then they get so shocked to them when life creates a struggle for them, and they have to go to the doctors to get antidepressants or whatever. You know what I mean? But it's
How about that? It's almost like when things are too easy, people tend to, foul themselves up.
yes,
Just because they don't know how to deal with the bliss of the moment.
yes,
There's nothing high, nothing low. Everything's just beautiful. The glass of water is infinite.
yes,
All of these things. People generally seem to want to need to overcome an obstacle in order to feel as if it's almost like that story of you need something to overcome in order to feel as if you are normal, rather than just there's nothing to overcome, there's nothing to
yes,
do, there's nothing you needed.
yes,
An individual doesn't know how to deal with that lack of a need.
yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a funny old business, a glorious funny old business.
Antony, I hope we could talk again really soon, sir. Did I talk
Yeah,
too much?
definitely. Sorry?
Did I talk too much? Thank you so much, man.
Hey, thank you. Been lovely to catch up, Howard. And yeah, let's do it again.
I really hope so. If you don't call me within a month, I'm going to call you and see if we can do it again.
Fine, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I'll try and make your Tuesday. Oh well, Monday your time, Tuesday. But it is an awkward time for me. That time, early in the morning, and then a day's work.
I understand. 2 weeks ago, that went on from. I started at 8 in the morning my time, and it went till 7 in the evening.
Oh wow!
I went 11 hours.
Gosh.
It was amazing. But yeah, so you never know. On a Monday, you could just click on that link, and I might still be on it.
Yeah.
But,
okay.
No pressure, brother.
No pressure. Anyway,
all right.
Lovely to talk, Howard. All the best, mate.
Right back at you, brother. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
See you later, man. Brilliant.